Back to 2.5 Men.
Turn it, Chris.
Give me that.
Chris, give me the remote. Chris, stop.
Stop
All farts.
I want it now!
What is the damn point?
Where's the TV?
I watch on my computer.
What do you mean you watch on your computer?
You're so old.
I don't have online, though.
You don't have online?
No.
You can just go on your phone. Who doesn't have the internet in this day and age?
Hey, yo, R. Got him.
Hell, you don't want to keep that internet waiting now, do you?
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
All set?
I am now.
I got to tell you, the Fox Networks group brought Truex about 2 years ago, and the production value of our sizzle reels has gone way, way up. Thanks for having me. I'm really glad you got my rider about not having me go after anything inspirational or important. I think that was good that, you know. I'm going to try to say some things here that don't get me disinvited from coming back next year, because I'm probably a bit of a contrarian to a lot of things that are getting said. I will say I do feel bad for everyone who's in brands or agencies in this room. I feel bad for all of your predecessors. If only they had known, make good ads that people want to watch, they would have saved themselves so much trouble. And I say that tongue-in-cheek because, look, we do it too on the TV side, and I would prefer to stop interrupting people with so many ads. But we have a fundamental problem in terms of understanding the value of people's time. So, you know, normally there's a better reveal on this question, but with this group, we all know where it's going. So what is the world's most valuable resource? And I think about it as a resource, and think about it the same way you think about gold or oil or sun or water. And the shark might argue with you that it's water in this one picture. But I would say unequivocally, and I can prove it, that human attention is the world's most valuable resource. Right? Human attention shapes absolutely everything we do. And human attention is equal to time, because there's a finite amount of it. If you've heard the ridiculous studies that say there's 31 hours in a day now because we can multitask, I find that fascinating, because I'm going to use the extra 7 hours to learn a new skill, maybe crocheting or something. But human attention shapes how we view the world. Right? Human attention, your attention, shapes who you fall in love with, shapes how you vote. Don't worry, we'll come back to this later. By the way, this is from 2010. For people who don't know. Crazy, or actually earlier. And it shapes what we buy. So, what we pay attention to shapes who we fall in love with, who we become friends with, who we vote for, what we buy. How is it possibly not the world's most valuable resource? And here's what we should all be kind of proud of in this room and kind of interested in and start taking much more responsibility for, is that the media business is the business of gathering, pricing, and trading attention. And that's not just with each other, but it could be with consumers when they buy a ticket to go see your movie, when they give up their attention to an advertiser. And if we respect this, people would stop ad blocking us. If we respected this, we wouldn't have to make arguments like, well, if we just make it good enough. Here's one way to think about this, and this blew my mind when I was looking at these numbers. These are the world's most valuable companies according to market cap, meaning their market valuation. 2 of those companies sell nothing, except for people's attention. They are basically feeders of human attention to other things, not railroads, not oil. They don't sell retails. They don't own stores or real estate, although I heard the campus is nice. That proves that human attention is the most valuable asset on the planet. But there's a problem. If people know the story of The Big Short, when an asset becomes too valuable, people try to fake it. So what we're kind of in is this era of The Big Short of advertising, in that we've stopped thinking of attention as the resource and we start thinking of impressions as the resource. We stop thinking of human attention as something that someone holds value to, and so we start thinking about it as something that we get to buy at the price that we determine. And it's just not true anymore. Because of everything people are talking about, because we don't value people's time correctly, they move to ad-free options, right? And by the way, no one ever liked ad interruptions. I find it's impossible to make the argument that people liked ad interruptions. What they liked was the deal. Help me get the stories I love. Subsidize the cost of content. I don't like that a brand is at the marathon. I like that the brand is helping put the marathon on. Thank you. So let's talk about human attention in different ways. We've seen all sorts of view counts up there. So viewing should be the biggest thing for human attention. And there's multiple billions of views, and those numbers are probably a lot higher now. And there's lowly Fox networks at 300. We should probably just go out of the business of telling stories because we can't get anyone to watch our content. So, I'm just glad they paid cash. But there's another way to look at it, and I think this is the way advertisers should be looking at it, which is, what's the time spent per session? And I call this canvas, right? How much time do you have with a person? How much attention do you have to deliver a message? Without attention, you can't deliver a message. It's impossible. So, and here's a way to think about it. Now, I won't go into the wonky ad version of this. Let's go to the storytelling version of this. Here's a story of 2 campaigns or views that each reach 10 million people. But the length of view matters. If in the first 2 seconds you can get brand recognition, in the second 5 seconds you can tell a key attribute of the product, in this 10th second you can do a story or an endorsement from someone that looks like me or I wish that I could be someday, 20th second you get pricing, 30th second you get path to purchase or CTA, call to action. Both of those campaigns count as 10 million people reached. But only one of those campaigns actually reached 10 million people. Now think about it as a storyteller and stop thinking about views and start thinking about stories completed. So our friends at Facebook, and I have to bring this up because I'm very much hoping that this man is playing in the Super Bowl in 3 weeks, because that's on Fox. So, I got some Wisconsin fans. I like that. So Facebook says that they have a Super Bowl in the pocket every day on mobile. And I would make the argument that the reach of a platform is totally meaningless. It's the reach of the marketing message that actually means something. And so we did the math because I was trying to figure out, well, okay, what does that mean to a marketer? What does that mean to a brand who wants to tell a story to consumers, who want to pay to be in front of somebody? And what we pulled out was that in 10 minutes of an average NFL game, forget the Super Bowl, we deliver more video commercials, more ads to consumers than Facebook has in a year. And again, not that Facebook isn't a great advertising platform. I'm trying to get back to, are we actually garnering people's attention? Are we giving people a chance to deliver a message? And again, I said I'd skip through the wonky advertising part to get to the part that I think is more interesting to the Sundance crowd. And that is, well, what do we do with the world's most valuable resource? Because that represents the number of minutes per hour we put commercials in right now. And I think that is a terrible trade for consumers. So I thought about saying something as obvious as I could, and people seem to like it obvious, so fewer, better ads. If we can do that, that'd be great. But we have to return something for advertisers. In order to do that, we need a new way to think about what it is we're buying. So we started to think about what's the science of attention, right? Like, there are some pillars to what make attention, and this is mathematical. There's a bunch of spreadsheets and really complicated stuff. I promise it's not just a hamster in a wheel, although it could be a really smart hamster in a wheel. That says the share of your visual, the share of your vision, whether or not you have audio paired with vision, whether or not you interact with it, and whether or not there is time will dictate whether or not you can remember something. If I was told you all I was going to ask you a question, like the IQ test earlier, you're more likely to remember something. If you see it and hear it, you're more likely to remember something. We can put a score to this, and we can start scoring our impressions on binary, or stop scoring them on binary. Now, that can go everywhere, and hopefully we can get to fewer, better ads. But let's skip out of that. I told you I'd go back to something that I think is way more interesting for this crowd, and I think it's important because it goes back to some of those earlier slides. What people pay attention to shapes everything that happens next in the world. From here on out, everything people pay attention to will shape what they do. And consumer choice and on-demand and news feeds lead to what a lot of people call the filter bubble. Self-selection, confirmation bias, right? These are some of the things that happen when people say, I'm only going to watch what I want to watch when I want to watch it. That was the bubble bursting. That's a PowerPoint effect that I could have done, so I'm going to show you guys that. But Sundance's mission is to say that stories can actually change the way people live their lives. How many people have seen a great documentary and changed the way they behaved afterward, or dedicated their time to something? By the way, this is marketing. Documentaries are marketing for ideas and ways people live their lives and hope that other people change too. And here's where, the big reveal comes for me, and the thing that I get excited about is that advertising has the potential to pierce the filter bubble. What is one of the only things you watch that you don't want to watch? What is one of the only things that you watch that wasn't self-selected? Cheerios, interracial couples. We Could Be King was talked about earlier, about the inspiration of high school sports. Before the Flood, National Geographic. And Amazon Prime, this is a commercial with an imam and a priest. And guess where these ads ran or these documentaries were distributed? And the reason brands got behind them was to make sure they got to people who wouldn't have watched them otherwise. Amazon.com ran during football games, seen nationwide, captured people's attention, got them to watch something that they might not have opted into otherwise. This is a huge responsibility and something I think is important. So if we do start thinking about brands as storytellers, which I don't disagree, I believe that all commercials were supposed to be good. All commercials were supposed to be storytelling. They just had a secondary goal of also selling a product. And maybe there's two ways to think about it. Maybe not every brand of toilet paper needs a telenovela to help you understand how special that toilet paper is. Maybe it needs less time and to get you to the stories you want, or maybe there's a way that it can help support stories that matter. So if we think about a stable of storytellers with Fox Networks Group, all the big tech companies everyone likes to talk about, what they've done is they found latent supply. Uber found latent supplies of cars, connected it up, was able to get cars to people more efficiently. Airbnb, apartments, latent supply of apartments, connected up to people more efficiently. We have as storytellers. We have lots. We have sound stages. The ability to create stories faster. Now the problem is, there's infinite numbers of stories out there. If anyone thinks the solution to the attention crisis is to create more content, then you're not paying attention to what the problem is. I think there was up there 400 million hours of YouTube video uploaded every hour. We're not watching it. No more seconds are being made in the day. No more minutes are being made in the day. So how do we do fewer, better stories, but then guarantee distribution? So we think about it as, and this is one of the ways to think about it now with Fox, is what if we said each of the ethos of our networks? Because what is in line with this idea of earning people's attention, we think about it as anything we do has to be worthy of an audience spending their most valuable resource on it. So for Fox, it's bold and breakthrough. For FX, it's fearless. For National Geographic, it's science and exploration. And for Fox Sports, it's home of championships. Did I mention we have the Super Bowl this year? Good, 2. What if a brand said, hey, you know what? I have a brand that wants to do something fearless. Can we work with Donald Glover to create something with our creative agency, saying the creative agency's job is making sure the product sells and it resonates and it fits with the brand ethos, and Donald's job is to make sure it fits with the audience that comes to watch Atlanta. Maybe not using the Atlanta IP, maybe not doing product placement. There's only so many times we can put a Ford truck into 24, which is premiering after the Super Bowl 3. So there are new ways to tell stories that is very interesting. And I think we have to get there. We have to go to fewer interruptions. But I do think we need a little bit of cold water thrown on the idea that brands aren't going to interrupt because there's infinite choice, right? The idea of removing interruptions from the middle of a story, maybe. I mean, if people really didn't want to be interrupted, if everyone in this room really didn't want to be interrupted from the thing they love in their life the most because someone else subsidized the cost of them being there, I think most of you would still be on the ski slopes right now. So what I want to do is say thank you. I'm going to end a minute early because I know time is our most valuable resource, and I'm going to give you a minute of it back. Thanks.
Joe.